Hi, this is Governor Mark Parkinson, and today I want to spend some time talking about our very challenging state budget situation that we face here in Kansas. We're really in the same situation that every state in the country is in, and that is because state governments, unlike the federal government, have to balance our budgets. We have to end the year with at least some money in the bank. We can't deficit spend like the federal government can, so it makes it very tough on the states. The particular challenge that we face right now is our recession, and that is because since the start of 2008, the revenues that come into the state to fund all of the state programs have dropped very sharply. In fact, they dropped so sharply that when we started this year out, we had no reserves at all. And when the legislature came into session in January of 2009, we actually had to cut about $700 million. Now, $700 million out of a budget of $5.5 billion is a significant amount of cuts. Fortunately, we had bipartisan cooperation with the legislature, and through a combination of using money from the Recovery Act and also by making cuts, we were able to balance the budget. The legislature left in April, and we all felt pretty good about the work that we'd accomplished. Unfortunately, then we got the May revenue numbers. Every month we collect taxes, and at the end of the month we add them all up to see how we're doing. And in just this last May, we ended up being $100 million less than we thought we would be. So after passing a balanced budget, we suddenly found out that we had more work to do. And it looks like in June, we'll receive less money than we thought we would. So we're going to have to make cuts that are even beyond the $100 million cuts that we learned about in May. Now, some people say it ought to be easy to make cuts in government spending, that there's a lot of waste and inefficiency in government spending. And while certainly every agency can become more efficient, what I want people to understand is that we've already cut the current state budgets anywhere from 3 to 10%, depending upon the state agency. We've made them more efficient already. So the cuts that we make are going to be very difficult for the agencies to take. Some people say, well, why don't you make cuts but exclude education or exclude social services? The problem is you really can't exclude those very important agencies, and that's because 51% of our budget funds our kindergarten through 12th grade system, 14% of our budget funds colleges, and 23% of our budget is our safety net for the poor and disabled. So if you excluded those people, you would exclude 88% of the budget, and there just wouldn't be enough else to cut in order to balance the budget. So we've got at least $135 million in budget cuts that we're going to need to make to get our budget back in balance. It's now my responsibility to do that as governor because the legislature is now out of town. The session is over. So I've reached out to leadership in both parties, the leaders of the appropriations committees and the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate, all those folks. I've also talked with our cabinet secretaries and leaders in education and in social services, and we're in the process of making the very difficult $130 or $135 million in cuts that need to be made. This is just a series of very difficult actions that we're having to take to put our economy and our budget on equal footing so that when we grow out of this recession, we'll be stronger and better than we were before. I've announced before that I'm not running for re-election in 2010, so we'll have a new governor and we'll have a new legislature. My hope is that when that happens, the economy will have turned around and we'll have a budget and an economy that they can utilize to really take Kansas to its next level of growth. This current round of cutting budgets won't be easy, and it certainly won't be fun, but it is very necessary. The reasonable steps that we're taking right now will lead to recovery, and that's exactly the reason that we're taking them.